This edition of CropLife Retail Week is brought to you by the inaugural Tech Hub Live Conference and Expo, July 19th through the 21st at the Iowa Events Center in Des Moines. Early bird registration now available at techhublive.com. Well, hello again. Welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Weeks. Paul Schrimpf here with Eric Sfiligoj. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Or good morning, sir, I guess. However, whenever anyone's watching this, I don't know. But
yeah, I was going to say.
So it's been a busy week with Commodity Classic. I personally have been completely occupied with other things, so I dispatched you and a couple of other folks to cover it. So I know you've got a lot of thoughts on that. I'm not sure where you want to start, but and we had some other news to cover as well. But where do you want to start, sir? I'll leave it to you.
All right. Well, since you brought up Commodity Classic, I mean, who am I to throw away a good segue? Yes, actually, this is the week normally, in a normal year, Paul, a non-COVID year, most of our staff would be running around a convention hall somewhere south. And this year it was supposed to have been in San Antonio, Texas, at the annual Commodity Classic event, where we'd be seeing a lot of exhibitors and visiting with a lot of the crop protection and fertilizer folks that attend that meeting, and also hearing from some of the key representatives in the government that look out for the interests of agriculture, including the Secretary of Ag. And I know this year Tom Vilsack will be speaking, but we're recording this just before he speaks, so we can give you some highlights on that in next week's video. But what's kind of interesting, Paul, is this, and my general impression is, doing this virtual, it's worked pretty well. There've been a few hiccups, but for the most part, things have run fairly smoothly. Everybody's been on time, and the sessions have been fairly interesting. As you might imagine, a lot of talk about current events, a lot of talk about COVID, commodity prices, a little bit about China. There was some information, of course, on new products and new product registrations that are coming out in 2021. But what's an interesting thing, Paul, is I know a little while ago in the magazine, actually for online, I take that back, it was our online story. We asked our readers to tell us where they think the next big game changer is coming from agriculture in terms of general, innovation or product category. And about a third of our readership said they thought technology would lead the way as we move forward over the next 5 years. And about a third said sustainability. So I was kind of actually paying attention to the sessions that Commodity Classic was holding to see if those percentages kind of mirrored our readers' findings. And I'm happy to report they actually kind of did. It wasn't quite a third, but a quarter of the folks, 23%, said they thought sustainability would be the next game changer for agriculture going forward. And 21% of the sessions at the Commodity Classic were focused on technology innovations. And then, like they say, the other 50-60% was focused on new innovations and current events, if you will. But I thought it was interesting that, we had about a 30% and 30% for our poll, and we had 23 and 21 respectively for Commodity Classic's mix of topics. So it seems like our readers are definitely going to be seeing, those two categories lead the way as we go forward here these next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is getting a lot of coverage, carbon, and carbon programs and everything else. Everybody seems to be putting their toe in the water, or if not jumping in a pool entirely. So I think it's to be expected that that's going to be of high interest and of high coverage. Still a lot of work to do, but we seem to be inching closer to getting more meat on the bones of these programs, so we know what to do, how to, what kind of data we need to wrestle to the ground, what kind of technology we need to use, what kind of partnerships we need to form, all that stuff that's that's critical to making this stuff scale and pan out for growers and for retailers. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, and actually the point was made at one of the sessions I attended today that was talking about the fact that you know, the reason sustainability is so important to agriculture, of course, is that millennials are going to be the driving force when it comes to food buying habits going forward. You know, kind of taking over from our generation, the baby boomers. And the point was made over and over that, hey, millennials have different tastes. They actually care about the quality of what they're eating, but they also want to know where it's coming from and that it has a good carbon footprint that it was used producing it. So, you know, that's just the reality of the market as we move forward here. That generation is going to be driving buying habits moving forward.
Yep. I mean, we even saw it in our own markets in the greenhouse market, certainly, you know, in other markets as well. As tastes change and what's important to that generation changes, it can have sweeping, if you're not paying attention, it can really sweep you away. Really, you know, the demand for flowers and plant material for homes is just changed and evolved so much where there just isn't the kind of demand that there was for, you know, maybe the boomers and other folks, other generations. So we've kind of witnessed that, and you know, conversely, you see more food being grown in greenhouses. You see more interest in urban and vertical and things like that. So all those trends are, you know, at the consumer level are impacting and will continue to impact all of our markets as we move forward. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So then in the attempt to have as much completeness as possible on stuff we've covered in the past, but somehow missed last week, just as we were recording our video last week, there was some news that broke that was kind of important. As you may remember, Paul, of course, middle of last year, we had the whole debate regarding Dicamba labels being ruled invalid by the courts, and folks were scrambling to get new labels and new approvals out for the Dicamba products, except for Tavium from Syngenta. But the three main products, Ingenia from BASF, Extendamax from Bayer, and Fexapan from Corteva, were all taken off label when that happened. And then we found out late October last year that both Ingenia and Extendamax were relabeled. They got new labels and 5 years extensions on those new labels. But there was no mention of Fexapan. And I know the folks at Corteva at that time were saying that they were hoping, you know, down the line to be putting in for their own new label registration. But lo and behold, Paul, we found out on February 22nd, that Corteva has decided to discontinue Fexapan. The company will no longer be producing a Dicamba product of its own. Instead, according to the press release, they're going to look at the Enlist system, which they have, which is tied to the 2,4-D chemistry instead, and see what kind of market penetration they can get with that. Well, they did point out they're still supportive of the Dicamba resistant cropping systems, but that they're not going to be playing in that space anymore. So again, there's one less Dicamba product out there that growers can use going into 2021.
Yeah, a lot of speculation as why, but we assume that it just wasn't as important a product based on, you know, the other products, the other system that they're selling, and just probably wasn't worth the hassle of trying to keep a label on something where, you know, the target could continue to move as there's more judgments or more lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it might have been just, you know, cutting bait instead of trying to fish that line for an extended period of time. Just didn't make sense.
Yep. So anyhow, yeah, if you have Fexapan in the warehouses or your customers do, then I guess they'll have to pick an alternative product here for the upcoming growing season. So
interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then another thing, of course, obviously, we always follow mergers and acquisitions that take place in the marketplace, particularly in the ag retail space. A merger that we knew about going into 2021, that was Landmark Agronomy Services, which is a CropLife 100 member, and another Wisconsin-based cooperative, Countryside Co-op. They announced they were going to be merging on March 1st, 2021. And lo and behold, Paul, we're now past that date and the merger is official. The new company at the moment is going to be using both names because they are looking for a new name and new brand identity. And hopefully that'll be coming soon. And when this new cooperative is newly named, we will let you know what the new name is, and maybe even show you a logo if we can get a hold of a copy of it. So,
yeah, well, this continuation of the ongoing trend, and and with names, it's these names have been around for so long, they're familiar to farmers. I mean, it's got to be done extremely carefully. For as much as you want to think, geez, why don't they just do it? It's important and on the ground to make sure that it's kind of in line with everything that what they're doing moving forward. So we'll see what that looks like, and be interesting to see what they come up with.
yeah, and along those lines, this one's a little not quite as big a deal, if you will, but Werner Fertilizer, which is a company that has ranked in our CropLife 100 for about the last 30 years or so, out of Somerset, Kentucky. They've actually been bought by a company I'm unfamiliar with called Hemisphere LLC. And according to the Hemisphere website, they own some dairy interests and diesel energy production interests elsewhere in the United States. And they're hoping now to get their feet wet in the ag retail market. So they're going to be buying Werner Fertilizer, which was a family-owned operation that was founded back in 1965. But I think other than the acquisition taking place, Paul, I don't think the Werner name's going to go away. And it sounds like everything else will be business as usual for the company.
Excellent. Well, good luck to those folks. And I just mentioned here at the end that hopefully we get to see some of the equipment here at the summer shows. I know John Deere had a major release through Commodity Classic as well, with the number of new sprayers, 3 in the Hagee line and several in 400, 600 lines of their John Deere branded equipment. So more options to take a look at, more technology built into these things for improved spraying. Lots of details out there on our website on some of the stories we have coverage on. But I said, hopefully we'll get to get out and see these things this summer.
Yeah, actually, I know I was talking to some of the John Deere folks earlier this morning at the Commodity Classic online. And we were talking a little bit about that one Hagee sprayer, the SDS 20. I guess it's got a 2,000 gallon product tank and actually has an option as a 164-foot hybrid boom. Call me crazy, Paul, but in a ride and drive, I would love to get behind the wheel of something that huge. I mean, and then hopefully if they really wanted to have some fun, put some smart cars in the way, and you could roll over those. So that would be kind of fun. There's an image for you.
I don't think anybody wants you in the cab of any of those things, sir. Oh man. Well, I think that's it, sir. I think we done.
Yeah, unless you've got something to add, Paul, that kind of covers my list of things. So.
No, I think that's plenty enough for this week. So that's it for this edition of CropLife Retail. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next week.
If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.